So, John, thanks again for saying yes to this fatherhood conversation. How are you today?
I'm excellent.
Excellent. So let's get right into it. How many children do you have, and what are their ages?
I have two girls. One is 14 and one is 12.
Nice, nice. Big. Well, what comes to mind when you think about, what has fatherhood been like?
It's been interesting.
Yeah.
Um, it's definitely been interesting. Learned a lot through the years. People always talk about having kids and saying, well, I'll have kids when I'm ready. But the truth is, you're never ready.
Right, right. And why are you never ready?
Well, mainly because it's just one of those things that you can't quite prepare for. You can do your best, and you'll make mistakes, but like I always thought, well, I need to be able to give my kids the best toys and the best activities, be able to take them out and go fishing and do stuff. But the truth is that um, those activities don't, if they cost anything, it's not much. Um, Building a rocket ship out of cardboard boxes can be one of those things. We had a lot of fun. We bought some rope and got a old tire and made a tire swing when my kids were younger, and we spent hours out on that tire swing.
Right,
Uh,
right.
but yeah,
So I think what you seem to be saying is that spending time with your children and and giving them exciting memories doesn't require any real money.
right.
Yeah, yeah,
So
absolutely. Yeah. So what is it? What's fundamentally what it is that you gave?
what's that?
What is it then that you gave? Like fundamentally, what is it that you did? What is it that, right? I mean, meaning, I think ultimately what you're talking about is just being present, right, with
Right.
them.
Ultimately, it has to do with your presence. I remember growing up and just thinking, like, my mom and dad both worked, and uh, as kids, it seemed like my brother raised me more than my parents did. And so uh, you can't give your kids any more than yourself. If
Mm.
there's anything you want to give them, giving them your time is what I've learned is the most important.
Yeah, yeah, I'm with you, right? Um what about how have you evolved your entertainment as they've gotten older? I mean, here's what I'm thinking. Yeah, for instance, taking my boys fishing is very inexpensive. It's not an expensive thing, and
Right.
I'm certain that these are going to be amazing memories for later. I know that I'm doing well because I'm present. I'm there with my child. I'm one of those. I'm one of those people who's very aware that I shouldn't be on my phone also. So it's always in my pocket if at all. And I keep it maybe for pictures. But I never get so fishing is inexpensive. However, as they've gotten older, now um I guess if you can afford it, you could do things like, I've gone indoor rock climbing with them.
Yeah.
It's not terribly expensive, but it's not fishing. I mean, a fishing rod will cost you 10-20 bucks, and you're kind of done. Um, and then also, I recently, this winter we went snowboarding. That's expensive, right? The
Yeah.
equipment, etc. So if you have the money, you can. But I think that what you're saying now is you don't have to have money to be an amazing dad. That's what I'm getting out of what you're saying.
Exactly. Um, we started off our family with um, a very meager budget. Uh, we didn't have a lot of money. And so we lived in an apartment. Back then, apartments were nothing. Um, these days, it costs you a fortune to have an apartment. You might as well just buy a house. But uh, back then, I was paying like $500 for an apartment. It was like crazy. Um, but yeah, we had this apartment complex that was surrounded by trees, and it was a gold mine to have found this place. And they had a stream, like a little river, where we'd take the kids down there and they would play in the water, and they just had a glorious time doing nothing.
Yeah, yeah. Well, but it seems like nothing, and you're right. I'm so glad that I'm so glad that you're focusing right now on the earlier years of your children's lives. And yeah, I do notice that a lot of parents are not going out into the woods. They're not going out to that stream, to that little lake, where there's frogs or maybe some turtles or some bugs. Or you know, I also think that that part about letting them jump into the stream is very fatherly. I find,
Right.
because I think my wife wouldn't have done it. She would have been like, "Oh my God, no! Don't go in the water! Don't grab the frog! Don't do this!" Like,
Right.
she would have gotten so nervous. And I think that, as I think the way that we're different, right? As boys, we were just so eager to grab every insect and animal and thing that was
Right.
moving. And it's so cool that, you know if we're home, if we're present, if we're there, we can share this with our children. And if anyone ever asks, well, what can you do early on with your children, is exactly this. Go back to your childhood and do all the things that you wanted to do as a kid, like, jumping, like jumping in mud, right? Like getting yourself dirty. Those are all
Right.
things that, even you're saying that, I know that for a fact boys enjoy that, because my boys loved it every time that we did crazy stuff like that. And now you're saying girls also like it.
Yeah. So I recall as my kids got older, some of the things they enjoyed doing was jumping in puddles.
Yeah.
Like it would rain and it would just storm, and uh, then we'd be left with these giant pools of water in our street, and they would just go running and jump into the puddle, and water'd go everywhere. They'd get all wet, but they had a wonderful time doing it. And I was like, hey, whatever works.
Right. Yeah, jumping in puddles. There's no cost to that. It's extremely safe. Um, and it's an incredible memory that didn't cost anybody anything, except, dad just being present and the children having a blast, because dad's there, right? Dad's
Right.
present. Dad's watching us. Dad's laughing with us. I think that, what I like about this conversation so far is I think that we're touching on how very simple being an amazing dad can truly be, right? There's no real, I mean, of course, I think you and I, as we tell this story, we have already gotten past the idea that, we have already committed, right? Once you
Right.
commit, once you're saying, okay, I'm with the children's mother, right? We're together. I'm not, I'm home in my family unit, and I'm committed to this. What's the next thing to do? Silly things like you're saying, playing with cardboard boxes, drawing, on the box itself, right? Like writing and teaching and just being present. It's so simple. It seems so simple.
Yeah. So my wife has been super awesome in making creative avenues through our kids. So we homeschool, or rather, she homeschools,
Right.
because I'm
Yeah.
just not that bright. But uh, yeah, my kids are. little mathematicians. They do things that I can't even think of accomplishing. But they're older now. But even now, like, it's strange enough. My kids aren't scared of the dark. They don't need a nightlight or anything like that. But we keep our microwave in the garage, and we started that because my wife said microwaves create radiation. What if it got into your kitchen? So I was like, well, problem solved. We'll put it in the garage. So uh, my daughter will sometimes say, I need to heat this up. And I'll be like, okay, we'll go heat it up. And she'll say, it's in the garage. I need you to come with me. And so just those little things that you see where your kids are like, it's scary in the garage for some reason.
Right.
And I need my dad there to make sure that I'm okay. I know nothing's going to happen, but I need your reassurance.
Yeah. No, I think that's an excellent example of the maybe proper, maybe not proper, but maybe the ideal way to react to a child's request, right? They're children, they're little, they don't know a lot. And and even though we might say, oh my God, like, you're pulling me away from my computer, you're pulling me away from my phone or the TV so I can go heat this up, or go walk into the garage with you. It sounds silly, but again, what I want to emphasize here is, it isn't silly to spend time with your kids, right? It isn't silly for your child to have had that moment and that awareness that when I need dad, for whatever reason, it doesn't matter, it's just going to the garage, right? When I need dad to come with, to go somewhere with me, it's cool that she doesn't have to explain it. And then that dad just gets up and says, all right, yeah, let's go do that. Let's make that happen. I think that's important. I think that anyone who's wondering if they're being present enough or engaged enough, this is a good way to test it. When your children are asking you to do what is clearly a non-necessity for you, like, you really don't have to be there, are you still saying, yes, yeah, I'll go ahead and make that happen with you, and let's make it into a fun thing to do together?
Right. That's exactly it. When you become a father, you start off with little babies and you think you're going to break them. And you're not really sure what to do to take care of these little people that you've been blessed with. And the truth is, you think that you need to be equipped to take care of them and to teach them and guide them, that there is so much that you learn from entering into fatherhood, and the things that your kids teach you about yourself. And as your kids get older, you'll notice that they will exhibit both the positive and the negative traits that you have.
Yeah, sure. What I wonder if you have an example for something that you learned about yourself as a father, because you became a committed dad.
Oh yeah. So I learned so many things, but one of the things that stuck out was I am somewhat antisocial. So I don't go out looking for people to hang out with and talk to all the time. I have like a select group of friends.
Oh, but wait. But I've known you for some time, and I wonder. And let me interrupt there for 1 second.
Yeah.
I wonder if you're, rather than antisocial, you're not particularly social, which I think there might be a difference, because I see antisocial as a negative term.
Oh, okay.
Meaning that you Yeah. What would be antisocial? Like that, maybe the way that you behave, maybe the way that somebody would behave in a particular social situation that would make them antisocial. Um,
Oh, okay.
right?
So
Maybe, I don't know.
maybe that's not the best wording, but I just don't jump into relationships.
Right.
Uh, I don't go out there talking to everybody. Like, we're in a troop with my daughter's a camp. Well, it's in a troop where we go camping a lot, and so I'll go and we'll sit around the fire. And my wife, she'll just talk to everybody.
Yeah.
And one of my daughters, she'll talk to everybody. And then my oldest daughter, she sits by me and we don't really talk much. We'll look at our phones, we'll read a book, uh, whatever the case may be. But we don't engage easily.
Mhm.
Uh, Whereas some people will just come out and talk to whoever's around them.
Yeah.
And we're more introverted.
Yeah.
Uh, but what I've noticed is my kids have shown me that not only am I introverted, but if there's somebody I don't agree with, um, I tend to just ignore that person and uh, don't bother talking to them, even though what they have to say may have some value in it. And so I've had to work on my own self, just trying to teach my kids, hey, you need to be the person that's going out there, being sociable, meeting people,
Yeah.
and helping others that you're able to help.
Right. So you know, you're saying that you notice this about yourself be, be, through 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 wanting to teach your daughters
Yes.
about being more social. Okay. Huh.
Like, because if you never talk to anyone, you're not going to learn much about the world around you. I mean, so through this process, I started talking to another dad who had daughters. And this is like a girls only camping trip, but dads are allowed to come. And so the dads come and they're the only males around. So the dads kind of join together and they work with one another to get things done, get tents up, build fires. And one guy taught me how to boil an egg in a fire.
Oh.
And so I was able to do that and then show my daughters this cool trick about boiling an egg in a fire.
So yeah, so wanting to be with your daughter has made you a better person.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah, that's interesting. I wonder, I don't, yeah, I haven't, I have heard a number of people say that that their children have taught them a lot. And I don't see it that way. I'm sure they do. And I wonder why I don't. There has to be a reason. And I'm certain that my boys have taught me a lot. And I just, for some reason, I don't see it that way.
It's because you're a know-it-all. No, I'm just kidding.
Good one. Huh. Well, I mean, so they.
So
Yeah.
I'm curious. I've seen some of your videos
Yeah.
and watched some of them. I think that in a way, your sons have taught you things that you otherwise wouldn't have come to know. Just we'll call it sensitivity training.
Yeah.
I think that just seeing your kids go through struggles of their own and going through that, like when I was a kid, we would have, I would have told my brother, you need to just man up and get over it.
Right. Yeah.
But the truth is, there is some places and times when you need to learn to be sensitive to other people and be understanding of what they're going through.
Yeah, no, and and some of the comments that they have made to me have been around my scaring their friends when they come to the house. And so yeah, like definitely, I've become more aware of the need to be more, I don't know, more sensitive, more, I don't know, less strict. Maybe a lot of that, not being so strict, I think has been a good lesson. And yes, sensitivity, definitely. The just recently, one of them was very upset, and he seemed, it looked like he was about to cry. He was tearing. He seemed to be tearing up, and and I kept asking, I'm like, are you crying? Right. And what's interesting about this conversation is I'm okay with crying. I'm 100% okay with anybody crying. Of course, it just makes total sense that crying it's a feeling, it's an emotion. You feel like crying, you cry, you feel better afterwards, or whatever, right? But what's interesting is I was trying to understand, like, and I think I'm just so much in my head. um and I was like, are you crying? Are you crying? Like, I was trying to figure out what to do. Like, what
Right.
am I supposed to stop the conversation that I was having that obviously made him cry, and just drop that, and give him a hug and let him cry? But he wasn't answering, and I couldn't figure it out. And this is exactly what you're saying. I think that there's this training going on that I'm also still, even at 13 and 14, or 14 years later, I'm still trying to figure out, what the right response is, especially around something like crying. Later, I had the opportunity, and this is why wives are so important, or the mothers of the children in your life are also so important, because my wife then comes to me and she goes, it sounded like you were taunting him, as if I was asking him, not are you crying, but why are you crying? And I was like, no, that wasn't my intention. I wasn't understanding what was happening, and I was so confused about it. um but this, I want to take this in the direction of the wives, right? You were talking about how you're saying, we homeschool, but it's actually my wife who does it. And it's so
Right.
interesting that one of the common denominators in successful fatherhood are wives. I've
Oh
said
yeah.
I've said this so many times before. I don't think you can do it if you don't have her support, right? So let me ask you this: is can you share anything about your relationship and what you have tried to do, be like, or what your relationship might look like pre and post children? The, yeah.
Um, that's pretty difficult to say just because we got married and um 9 months later, maybe 12 months later,
Okay.
uh we had kids.
Okay. All right.
So
Yeah.
but yeah, with me and my wife, we had known each other for about 5 years before we got married. And then we got married and had kids. So uh, we'll have older kids that we'll be able to go out and do things with um, before we're too decrepit to move around.
Decrepit. um yeah. No, I guess what I was aiming for is, as I was thinking about this, um I do think that sensitivity training that you mentioned, like, really really stuck in my head. And I do know that I'm a better partner. I'm a better husband. Yeah, I'm a better husband, because of my kids. Definitely. Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
So when we first had kids, and I grew up with the mentality of toughing it out and um, being strong, not showing weakness, all of that kind of stuff. It was just kind of the generation that we grew up in. And so that was kind of the whole Mr. T, I pity the fool kind of thing. So when I had kids, they would have a problem or they'd be upset, and I'd tell them to tough it out. And I learned very quickly that kids don't respond well to being told tough it out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I think that, especially for me having two daughters, see, if I had had sons, I might have just stuck to my guns because that's how I was raised. And, it's the only thing I knew. But having daughters, I was open to the factor that I could be wrong. And whether you have daughters or sons, I'll tell you right now, you will be wrong.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
So
I'm with you.
for me,
I'm with you 100%. Yeah, no, with my boys, I was very, very clear from very early on that it was okay to cry.
That's good.
Yeah, I did not grow up being told to not cry. I don't remember growing up being told to not cry. It's almost as if organically it's not something that I did, and I'm wondering. I'm wondering to what extent I was I was not in touch with my emotions because my mom was such a tough lady. I mean, my mom was somebody who didn't cry.
Right.
But with my boys, it was like, yeah, like when I know the story that I always tell, and because this is something funny about children. When they're really little, when human beings are little and they fall, they cry. Maybe they got scared. It's probably just really scary. And when you get scared at that age, you cry. And but as an adult, looking at my child who just fell and now is crying, I was like, why are you crying? I thought to myself, but I was always like, I would go over, hug him, and just be like, yeah, let me know when you feel better and when you're done crying, and we'll get going. So yeah. It's 100% okay to cry. That's right. Crying is okay at any age.
Oh yeah.
Right. It's like, it's so weird that crying, it somehow got this bad, this negative reputation, this or negative connotation, that crying is something that you don't do. It's like, well, why? How is it different than laughing and being happy and right and loving? How is it different? Right. Like, but
Right.
it scares people, I guess.
Yeah. There's a lot of things that we don't know about being a father, and what should be allowed and what shouldn't. And crying is definitely something that no one should be ridiculed or upset about.
Yeah.
Crying is a perfectly normal emotion. And so I'm actually a Christian man. I don't know if I've ever told you about that, but uh, I believe that God made us a certain way, and he made us with emotions, and that those emotions are meant to be expressed. And so
Right.
when you're upset, crying is totally legitimate, and it's not something anybody should be upset about. And
Yeah.
that goes for dads too. I
Right.
mean,
I like what you just said. It doesn't have to be connected to religion. It doesn't have to be connected to any more complex of idea than we have emotions
right.
for a reason, and that's to express them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. That's solid, simple thinking. I love it. Yeah. Yeah. Like, what are you gonna do? Like, are you gonna choose the ones that are okay, and then are you gonna choose?
Right.
That's silly.
It's like, okay, fear is unacceptable. You can't be afraid of things. Like, if a snake bites you, you should enjoy it.
Right. Yeah, and none of it makes sense. That's good one.
Right. If we only chose joy and said only be joyful about everything, then life would just be weird.
Yeah, but I don't. You couldn't do it. You would. I think that we would all have major, psychosis. We
Right.
would be.
Life wouldn't make
It
sense
wouldn't make sense. No.
if everything. So I've talked to people about this before, and it's just the idea of uh, so I've talked to my daughters about um, not exactly, I guess technically my wife came up with the wording because she's the smart one, but it's basically the idea of if if you say your favorite food in the world is pizza, and I give you pizza every single day, eventually you're going to say, I don't want pizza.
Yeah.
Like, no, it's your favorite food. You're going to have pizza and Coke every day because that's what you want.
Yeah.
Like, well, that's what I wanted last week. Now I'm tired of it. And so we've told our kids that. And it's the excitement of having something that's rare and occasional that makes it valuable. And so, like, we tell our kids, you can't have Coke every day. That's just us. But we say it's more of a fun thing. So you do it occasionally and it tastes good and you enjoy it, but there's no need to drink it every day.
Well, and I just want to say here, not just it's I don't when you say that's just us. I think that we should put this on the table and really look at it. Although I don't know how much this, the something like Coca-Cola, right, is going to negatively affect your child over time. But we do know that it's got sugar in it and a bunch of other stuff that are not necessary for the body, and that instead drinking water is it appears to be far more beneficial, or is like a glass. So no, I think that the science is in water is definitely better than soda.
Right.
So yeah, no, yeah. I heard what you said, and it just rattled in my brain. Definitely, no. And this is where parenting comes in. If you know, if your children, if your children could, if our children could, they would eat chocolate or soda or drink soda every single day, right? They would eat sugar. They would consume sugar for breakfast, for lunch, and for dinner, and in between.
Right.
And that's what but we're, as the parents, we have to be able to say, well, no, we actually know what's better for you, which one of these two items is. And so let's talk about balancing your diet, I think is what you're saying.
Right.
Yeah. It's funny. The other day, I asked my oldest son. I said, "Hey, I was joking. Oh, I think it was we were playing a game, and it was like it asks questions. It's like a family game where you get to know each other better. And the game, I think the card said, who's your best friend? And I looked over at my oldest son, and I said, "Hey, am I your best friend?" I said to him. I looked at him. I'm like, I confront. I was almost. It was almost confrontational. It wasn't, but it's a tough question, right? I said, "Am I your best friend?" And he looked at me and he goes, "No."
Oh, darn.
I know, right? But I was very proud of him for being able to say no. Because he goes, "Well, no, you're not my friend. You're my dad. You're this and that." I forget what else he said, but in essence, I think this. I want to connect this to the idea of drinking soda daily. No, we're not. I'm not your friend. I'm here to help you learn what's best for you. I'm your father, mentor, guide, teacher, right? But I'm certainly not, I'm not your girlfriend. I'm not I'm not your 14-year-old best girlfriend that's going to let you do whatever you want. No, it's not my role, right?
Right.
It's not the relationship that I want to have with you. But that's interesting.
You're almost a guide. So if I were a guide leading you through the Amazon jungle, and you said, "Well, I want to go this way through the snake pit," I'm like, "Well, we're not going to go through the snake pit, but I want to." And I'm like, "Well, I see that, but you're going to die if you go that way."
Right. No, I like that. I definitely. And you're less, and you can be a little unpopular because the snake pit looks like a lot of fun.
Right.
But that's okay. But on the other hand, I'll make it up to you. Okay, we won't go through the snake pit today, but today we'll do something. We'll go through the, I don't know, through the mice pit.
Right.
I mean, whatever. um and then maybe even how about, we save up some money and we get some of those like plastic overalls that the fishermen wear, right, when they do like fly fishing, and then we'll go through through the snake pit, in the near future, right? Because it's a fun experience, right?
Yeah.
We'll do it in a safe manner, but today we're just not ready for it. Yeah. All of this, again, all of this can happen. Everything that you're saying, everything that we're talking about can happen when you're when our minds, our father mind is focused on engagement, right?
Right.
Right? Like when you have goals, like what is it that I want to get out of this year with my children, right? Right, like, it's a good question. What do I want to do this year with my boys? What, for instance, this is something, right? And so late 2020, we started going into indoor rock climbing, which I think we're going to do tomorrow again, because
Oh,
we're
cool.
we're preparing for going real rock climbing, as soon as it warms up a little bit, right? I live up north in northern Jersey.
Right.
So these are goals that I have in my mind, right? These are goals that are going to take time, that I've been planning. I've basically been planning for like 6 to 8 months to prepare us, right? And I think that that's what being dad is about,
Right.
right? Short-term, long-term goals for what the kind of life that you want to live with them, right?
Yeah. So 3 or 4 years ago, we went to the Grand Canyon with some friends of ours, but we weren't able to go down into the canyon. So right now we're making plans and preparing and budgeting to create the budget so that we can go and backpack down into the canyon.
Yeah.
And so the kids are happy about that a little.
Yeah.
One of them is happy. The other one doesn't want to hike.
Because 3 or so years ago they were too little to hike down. I understand that it's an intensive hike.
Right.
Okay.
And so we'll probably do it in a couple of years when both of them are a little bit older.
Right.
But this year we are taking them to California, and we're gonna go out to Yosemite and see the park there. They've seen pictures and they think it's beautiful, so we have the opportunity to go out there. So that's gonna be fun.
Yeah. Yeah, that is pretty cool. Again, that's something that I like. I like the idea that you're planning ahead. What are we gonna do? Yeah, we can't do it now. Like we couldn't do it before because the girls they were too little. You didn't want to carry them the whole way up or down. It's just gonna be too much. Yeah. And you're thinking, well, what can we do before we hike down, to the bottom of the canyon? Well, we can go to Yosemite. That's awesome. Yeah, and I think something very, very important that I've been noticing that a lot of people are not doing is getting out of the house. And look, I'm extremely respectful to those who are very afraid of COVID. I am. I understand. I understand that it's such a scary idea that you're gonna get sick. Side note, there was a moment when I looked at my wife and I said, hey, what happens if one of us dies? Right? Because we know
Right.
people who, like, what that would be crazy. Like, spending however many weeks on a ventilator and then just dying. It's like, my God, what are we gonna do? And we talked about it only briefly. But the point being, and I don't know, I went off on a tangent. Planning ahead and planning, age appropriate getaways, right? Getting out of the house
Right.
whenever possible. And if you're not terribly afraid, if you're not afraid of leaving the house, you should definitely be trying to make the effort to get out. Children need to get out of the house. They do.
So we make it an effort to go hiking. And we go places where there's not a lot of people. And we're outside. If you're outside, there's less of a chance that you're going to get sick
Right.
or catch
Yeah.
the virus from someone. And then if you are worried about it, you can wear a mask. Although for me, I become claustrophobic and
Yeah.
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 I can't wear a mask for very long. I'll put it on if I'm gonna pass somebody or something.
Yeah.
But I don't really because I'm not that worried about it.
Yeah, I think it's pretty clear that if you're outside and there's nobody around, there's no reason to wear the mask. But like
right.
I'm not Fauci, so listen to that guy first.
Just I can't say that everyone is affected by the virus the same way. Yeah. But my family had it. We were worried about me the most because I found out last year that I have I forgot what it's called. I have high blood pressure and I have diabetes.
Oh.
So I have type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, wow. Which I'm working on all of that. But so we were worried about the virus, and a family member came in contact with us that had been around somebody, and it was just unfortunate, but there's nothing I can do about it. And I ended up having the easiest go of it than anybody.
Oh, you did? I didn't know.
The only huge symptom that I had, it was around Christmas time, and I fell asleep during The Grinch. I don't fall asleep during movies. I turned on the movie and I fell asleep. And I was like, and my wife said, that's when I knew something was wrong.
Oh, wow.
Like, no matter how tired I am, I can stay awake for a movie.
Yeah, that's hilarious. Wow. So you got it, huh?
Yeah, so I got it. It took me 3 weeks, almost 4 weeks, to get a clear test. I went and got tested each week because we were testing everyone in our family. I know they say if you have it, you just need to wait the 10 days and then you don't have to test again. But I was like, well, we got to test our other family members because not everybody got it at the same time.
Yeah.
And so,
wow.
But yeah.
Wow. That's interesting. Yeah. No, I never got tested. About 2 weeks ago, I got my first shot.
Oh, okay.
And this Friday, I'm getting my second one.
Well, I hope the second shot doesn't kill you.
Me too. Me too. I don't know what's gonna happen, but it's Friday, so I'll have the whole weekend to recover, hopefully. I don't know. No idea. So you said that your parents worked a lot. Your dad worked a lot. How are you like your dad? What about this? What are some of the nice things that your dad did when you were little that you're doing as a dad?
So one of the things my dad did was he took us out, he mainly took us out to Dairy Queen. And it was just him and one of the kids. So one of us got to go with him. And so what I've taken to doing, both my wife and I take our daughters on little dates.
Oh, that's great. I
so
like that
daddy-daughter date.
Yeah.
And so I've taken, since they were little, I used to take them to Jamba Juice because they love the juices.
Yeah.
And so that's always been a lot of fun. And I think that by doing that, you grow your relationship with your children.
Yeah, man, that's so good. That's so important. Yeah, getting out of the house together, right?
Yeah. Even during times of COVID, I would encourage anyone to make a way to get out. get some sunshine. Like, that's important. I don't want anybody becoming depressed or just
Yeah.
being stuck inside by yourself. It's hard.
Yeah.
And our families are, if you're as a dad, if you're stronger than everybody else, great. But your families need that time to get out, be outside, and have some fun. Whether that
Yeah.
means going to a park and
Yeah.
kicking a ball around, or playing catch in your backyard.
Yeah. What I really like about what you said is about these date days. Are they scheduled? Are they in a calendar? Are you systematic about it, or like whenever it happens, and it happens often enough?
It doesn't. We haven't had a system for it since COVID. Um, so a lot of the time it's not going out to get drinks, because throughout COVID everything's been closed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or a lot of things have been. And um, nowadays you can do that, but we've taken to, we live in the city, and there is a school right down the street, about a block away from our house, and they have a track.
Yeah. Oh crap.